Hi, I'm Barbara from Bee's Kitchen and Garden, where I share with you successful recipes and gardening tips. Today's recipe is for perfect pastry cheese sticks. The holidays are coming up, and these are a wonderful treat. They're not that difficult to make, and they taste fabulous. So let's get started. To begin, preheat your oven to 400 degrees and take your baking sheet and cover it with parchment paper. I actually use 2 baking sheets for this because I like to cut my cheese sticks into smaller sections, about 3 bites apiece. Take your pastry dough. Mine comes refrigerated in this kind of packet. I know for a fact that I'm only going to use half of it for this recipe. So I'm unrolling the pastry dough. It comes nicely rolled with a paper separator. And it unrolls for half of it to about 7 inches. I'm going to use the pizza cutter and cut the pastry dough, and I know that's going to be about half of this sheet. Now, before I put it on my surface, cover the surface with plastic wrap. And this is important because for these cheese sticks, we're going to treat both sides of the pastry dough, not just one side. That's what makes the flavor so outstanding. So cover your surface with plastic wrap so the dough won't stick to it. And also you will see, we're going to flip it over. All right, let me get my pastry dough that I just cut and put it on the plastic wrap. Now comes the fun part. This really is not a difficult recipe. Now that you have your pastry dough, let's gently, and don't overdo it, but gently brush it with butter. This is going to add flavor and will help all of our cheeses to stay where we want them to be. So butter one side of the pastry dough. That's the melted butter. I melted it in the microwave just for a short period. Be careful when you're melting in the microwave because it could explode on you. So just for a short period of time, brushing on butter. There we go. And now we're ready. Grated Parmesan cheese. That's where it's almost like a powder. Sprinkle 1½ tablespoons. This is a 1½ tablespoon, big spoon, and sprinkle it on the pastry dough. Now you want it to be as even as possible, so don't be hesitant to use your hand and spread it out. It's just a very, very thin layer, but it adds tremendous flavor. These are so delicious. Oh. Okay, so I've spread out my grated Parmesan cheese. Now I'm going to add shredded, very sharp cheddar cheese. And in order to give these a little bit of a kick, take 1/3 cup of shredded, sharp cheddar. That's a little bit too much. And we'll use that for the other side. This is a 2-sided process. Still a little bit too much. 1/3 cup will really do, so I don't want to overdo. Okay. To add the kick, we're going to take 1/16 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I have a measuring spoon. I think it's from Pampered Chef. It's great, and it goes down to 1/8 of a teaspoon. So we're going to fill that and then only use half of it. We'll use the other half later. Okay, 1/8 of a teaspoon of sharp cayenne pepper. I'm going to sprinkle about half of it onto my cheese. That's about half. Save that for the other side. And with a fork, make sure this is well mixed. You're mixing the cayenne pepper to try to get it on all of those shredded cheese pieces. The cayenne pepper and the shredded sharp cheddar cheese should be so well mixed that you can barely see little tiny dots of pepper on all of the shredded cheeses. Spread this on top of the Parmesan cheese, and again we're going to use our hands to make it as even as possible because we want that good flavor in every single one of our pastry cheese sticks. So spreading it out, getting it even, and by treating both sides, if we miss a little spot on this side, we'll catch it on the other side. Take a second piece of plastic wrap and cover the pastry dough with the cheeses. Try to cover the whole thing because now comes one of the fun parts. We're going to press all the cheeses into the dough really well with our rolling pin. I've pressed all the cheeses into this side of the dough. Now I'm going to lift both pieces of plastic wrap and turn the dough over and give this side the same treatment as the first side. So I have to gently peel away the plastic wrap, but if I can, I'm going to save it because I know I'll need it for rolling on this second side. So again, we have the melted butter, and we're going to spread it just very lightly. This isn't about a lot of butter. It's just about making sure that there's a tiny bit on top of the dough. I started experimenting with cheese stick recipes because I found my mother's old cheese stick recipe. They did not have pastry dough so easy to access at that time, and so hers was starting from total scratch. But this makes everything so much easier. I used to watch her cook a lot. I thought it was great fun. Now we go back to 1.5 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese. Sprinkle that over. Smooth it out. Everything is now on top of the second side of the dough, and I've used my plastic wrap again to cover it so that I can now start pressing the flavors into the second side of the dough. Now that all the flavors are pressed into the second side of the dough, and this looks fabulous, take off the top plastic wrap layer and use your pizza cutter to cut into strips. About 1 inch will do to a little under 1 inch. Now because I like a smaller size cheese stick, I'm going to cut this into about thirds going this way. Actually, some will be a little longer than others, but there we go. They're cut into strips, and now comes the fun part. We're going to twist our cheese sticks and place them on the baking sheet on the parchment paper on the baking sheet. So to take the twist, get one of your strips. These really puff up in the oven. And twist, 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 and put it on the baking sheet. There we go. Again, the first ones are going to be, I cut them a little shorter. And then these get twisted and twisted. They will come out a little bit in different lengths, which is fine. Both baking sheets now have small twisted pastry cheese sticks on them. So they're going into the oven, 400 degrees for 15 minutes. Set your timers and keep an eye on them. They should be golden brown when they're done. Here are the final product, our perfect pastry cheese sticks. I'm going to cool them before I eat them, and they came out beautifully. Now, if you want something heartier and larger, this is the batch that I have done previously. These go in for 20 minutes to bake, and I just cut the pastry dough in half, not in thirds. So your choice of the hearty ones or the smaller ones. Be sure to bake them in the oven on a middle rack. I put this pan in first. When it was finished, I put this one in, just to make sure that they both had the right temperature. It didn't get burned on the bottom. So just 400 degrees, 15 minutes on a middle rack in your oven, and enjoy your perfect pastry cheese sticks. If you enjoyed this recipe, please click on like below and check out my other recipes. I air a new episode every Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And there are lots of interesting recipes you will enjoy already on YouTube. Thanks for watching.